If you're tired of the standard business and marketing fundamentals, frameworks, and funnels, you need a little mischief. Get ready to turn up the volume on the CEO Mischief Maker podcast, where you access conversations with seasoned business owners who have smashed through mindset barriers, innovated the standard boring business and marketing playbooks, and executed future-paced strategies with bleeding-edge tools and tactics to micro-fail their way into massive success and growth. We are Mindset Impact Strategic Catalysts helping innovative entrepreneurs focus. We are CEO Mischief Makers. Ready to make a little mischief? Hey, CEO Mischief Makers, welcome back to the conversation. If you have not listened to Monday's episode about mindset with my amazing guest, Pablo Gonzalez, you need to go back and listen to that. But in the meantime, we get to chat about impact and innovation today. And I'm telling you, we got deep on that first episode. We are now going to come out and get a little more specific. So first off, Pablo, welcome back to the conversation.
Let's go. Wednesday, baby.
I love it. Hump day. That's what my dad used to call it. Hump day.
I love that commercial. Yeah.
So, all right. We talked about the mindset shifts to understand how important community and missions and movements are in supporting the not just the business, but the changes that you want to make in the world and the changes the business wants to contribute to. So now take me a little bit deeper into what you do and first off, let's just start with who do you want to impact in this world? Who are you trying to help and serve?
I'm gonna start wide, right? Like I think that my first business was, this belief that I could really move the needle on climate change and help stop that. And at some point I realized that technology is going to have to save us there. It's not going to be behavior, and I'm not a technologist. But what I am sure of is that we're living longer. There's only a certain amount of space on planet Earth. And whether or not it's through climate change or not, we're gonna get closer together. And what we have seen is that when people have to live close to each other that before didn't have to live close to each other, it creates problems, it creates chaos, it creates wars, it creates all these different things. And at the end of the day, I believe, like Ralph Waldo Emerson believes, in this idea of, in my walks, every man I meet is in some way my superior, and in that I can learn from them. I think that everybody has something to offer someone else. We've all walked a different path, and therefore there's something you can learn from each person. And if we make that very, very obvious to people, and people understand that the more different from you somebody is, the more you can actually learn from them, and that's an advantage for you, I think we can really prevent ourselves a bunch of heartache, right? So to me, it's the person that truly believes in relationships over transactions and the value in that, the idea that transactions have diminishing returns and relationships have compounding returns, is the psychographic I help. On a more specific way of doing it, I have been in the space of highly complex real estate investing, kind of like periphery, right? Like whether it's the technology for it or whether it's like softwares for it, or whether it's actually people that are driving that bus. Because at the end of the day, right now, we're very used to a world where marketing essentially means, hey, look at me, I'm marketing, I'm in your face. It's all about like frequency and impressions. And then at some point it led into like clicks for tricks. It's like, hey, I bet you this is going to be really important. And by the way, you're just going to you're going to click on this turd, and now I get to follow up with you all the time. Yeah. And as we've gotten really, really used to that, what's happening is people are trusting it less and less. And when you're selling somebody on an investment that's going to change their life, right? Whether it's a complex sale, like a high ticket B2B service, or a consultant, or a real estate investment or something like that, you cannot afford to lose trust on the front end, because the only thing that you hang your hat on is that. So these companies that have a high degree of trust, high contract value, highly service-based businesses that really lean on their reputation to sell are the people that I help the most, because they really truly undervalue this idea that they got to walk in the door of trust.
Wow. So two things I wanted to point out specifically about what you said. Number one is echo chambers. So much of what's online and where people are hanging out is an echo chamber that just reflects exactly what they think is important. Instead of, like what you just said, someone who is different from me, has different set of ideas. That person is way more valuable to me in the sense of my growth and the opportunity to learn about myself and others than the people who just agree with me and think I'm just the best thing since sliced bread. So,
Agreed.
number one, right? That is so, please, everyone listening to my voice, if you can just engage with one person and be open-minded enough to listen, even though in the short term it might really piss you off what they're saying, it will be valuable to you if you stand back and are not invested in the feelings and actually think logically and understand what they're saying. You will be able to pick out the pieces that will be of value to you that will help you grow. So if we could just do that, our world would be a better place.
Approach with curiosity over judgment. And like, there's going to be some truth in whatever they tell you, right? And that will
That's
help you.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. Oh my goodness. And then in terms of impacting, you went broad and then came into the specifics. And obviously transactions versus relationships. I'm all there. Oh my goodness. People, businesses that just want to get into people's wallets basically are on a hamster wheel. They're just on a hamster wheel that just keeps going around and around, and they have to keep trying to find new wallets to pick, right? New pockets to pick. That's really all it is. And that's not longevity. That's not loyalty. That's not community. Relationships are. So you also went right into innovation, where you talked about what people bring, the completely unique experiences and the thought processes that brought them to where they are. That is innovation. So how are you using your unique processes and experience and everything that has gotten you to where you are in order to serve those you want to impact? How are you innovating your space?
Yeah. The realization hit me that as a lifelong student of influence, if you read Cialdini's book Influence, which has the 7 different levers, you can kind of separate them out between like dark side and light side. Like there's like the levers that are just like, oh yeah, the bad guys in the world use this, and the best guys, the best people in the world and the best leaders in the world that I really echo with use that. And out of all of them, I've just always found that the law of reciprocity and the law of liking and seeing yourself in someone is one of the most powerful one, which led me to understanding that the most powerful client acquisition tool is having 2 people that are super convinced that you're awesome talk about you in front of somebody that is deciding whether or not they want to do business with you or connect with you or let you influence their life in any way. And the innovation around how you do that is taking advantage of the fact that nowadays we are able to create video content specifically, and audio, and that can then lead to audio, that can then lead to written word, that can then lead to all these other things in a very seamless manner. So if you can think about this idea of like thinking that you really want a pizza and you're on a bus and now 2 people down, like 1 seat over are talking about their favorite pizza joint, and you're like, I'm going there. And you extrapolate that to you're scrolling on Facebook, and now you're seeing somebody that you know talking to somebody that is the pizza maker, telling them how great their pizza has been for their life and how it's their favorite, and this is my order, and blah 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 blah. You've created a way of doing that in the new context that we live in, which is this idea of scrolling social media, watching videos online. And it's not too hard to do. All you got to do is figure out how to have conversations with people that really like you, and have those conversations recorded, and figure out genuine ways to do that, and then figure out ways to distribute that in places that your clientele are going to be. And you get bonus points for actually doing it in person, where prospects and actual happy clients interact. So combining event marketing with content creation strategies and distribution is the innovation.
And so we're going to get specific in the next episode of what exactly you're talking about, because I think this is a new category that people aren't familiar with. So obviously the terms that you just used, using event marketing and content with video and person to person and sharing how you feel. I mean, it on the surface, on the high level, I can understand that what you're saying. If we could unpack that a little bit more, that what you're saying is when you get people together at an event and you videotape their conversation that is genuine, not scripted, not just, hey, wonderful customer, say this so I can get more customers like you, but actual conversations that are deep enough that let potential customers know that the know, like, and trust is there. This is not just a scheme, again, to get in your wallet with a perceived uniqueness and a perceived genuine intent. This is actual genuine intent. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, it's genuine intent, and the lever that you need to unlock is make that conversation valuable to the person having it, right? Like, there's a big difference between you're at an event, you're having a good time, come over here and tell everybody how good of a time you are on camera, versus, hey, you're at this event, what brought you to this event? What are you trying to accomplish? The thing that you're trying to accomplish, and what have you figured out that makes you, that makes you uniquely suited to accomplish this thing? How does this fit into your life? And how and then from there, like, that conversation becomes something that somebody would be proud to share, right? Like, just like you're doing with me right now, asking me what my aha moments were and how I created my business model and, like, the value of community and what things I've innovated. I'm going to be proud to share this conversation. You get to echo that sentiment, and then when it shows up on social media streams, people that know who I am are going to be like, oh yeah, my friend's on TV, and who's that with him, right? Yeah. And if you are doing business with somebody who knows who I am, and you send them a video that that shows that I believe in what you're doing in designing conversations and in making them genuine in a way to build trust, and I've bet my career on it too. Now somebody that's like, oh, okay, I know Pablo. I'm pretty sure that I trust that guy, and if he is validating what MKJ is working on, I was thinking about doing it too. So I don't know. I want to be guilty by association with that. Sounds good, right? So it's that. It's not just making the conversation valuable to you as the person filming it, but making it valuable to the person that's taking a part of it, so that it becomes this, like, win-win-win, not just a do this for me thing.
Absolutely. And that whole innovation that you just went through and how you are taking now tell me this really quickly. How did you what specific experiences or knowledge or mindset shifts did you have to draw upon or did spark for you to actually embark upon this events and video and uniqueness and all that? How did you do that? What caused it?
Yeah, that's a pretty straight path. So first of all, I told you that on Monday we talked about this idea that I had started these, like, young professional groups for Habitat. The formula, Habitat for Humanity, the formula that we used to start these young professional groups were we'd host these events, and whoever would show up would say, oh, like, being a part of this group, you get to meet people that in Miami is a flaky city, so you're going to meet people that care at least a little bit about something else other than themselves. And oh, by the way, we host monthly meetings to plan our next event in the boardroom of somebody that is on the board of Habitat. So you're going to meet this, like, influential person in town, right? So, like, me as the broker of that relationship started making me understand that, like, I could get people to, like, go volunteer at an event or fundraise or whatever, as long as I was connecting them to people that they wanted to know and introducing them to people that they could have never had access to before, and just being the broker of that scenario, right? So that was, like, step one. That took me to starting this in 4 other charities, using that same trick. Like, once I burned through all the boards or all the directors of the board, I started actually hosting events for the charity, saying, oh, no, I want to now go meet the number 1 developer in Miami. Let's host a panel where I can invite him on and invite them as an audience, right? So I was doing this all for nonprofits. Then at one point, I had this, like, big aha moment of my CEO was invited to speak on a panel at Smart Cities. He decided he didn't want to go. So they send me instead, who at the time was the director of sustainability for a hospital builder. I showed up to this panel. It was this joint panel between the Economic Development Council of Miami and the Inter-American, like the Spanish-American Chamber of Commerce. And I shared a stage with the head of Cisco Systems for Latin America and the head of like the Smart Cities Initiative of the World Bank, and me, director of sustainability in my little company that like felt like I was at a dead-end job kind of thing. And when I came off of that stage, it was a room of about 75 people. When I came off of that stage, I had done a bunch of events before, but coming off that stage, there was a line 7 deep waiting to talk to me, which had never happened to me before. And as I started talking to each person, like the first couple were vendors, like, oh man, you know, like trying to sell into my company. I was like, these guys think I'm more important than I am. Then there was like a couple developers like, hey, what's it take to hire a guy like you? I'm like, oh man, these guys think I'm smarter than I am. And then my buddy Will Beckham, who was a younger man that was just like, hey man, I've always been into this. I want a mentor. I was like, man, this guy, like me as a mentor. and as I started, I'm like, what the hell is going on here? I realized, oh, the brain explains what it sees, right? So if I'm on stage and you're in the audience, you're automatically giving me value because I'm there and you're here. Yeah. And on top of that, because I was on stage, and I had done that before, I've been on stage before, the difference on this one was that I shared the stage with 2 people of a certain ilk that I was multiple notches below. But again, the brain tricks itself to be like, oh, he is guilty by association with those folks. He is on a stage sharing it with people at that level. He must be somewhere close to that level, right? So at that point, I was like, oh, I get this. How can I use this trick? And my head didn't go to like, oh, I got to get on more stages. My head went to like, oh, I can provide this value to other people. And I immediately reached out to a developer in Miami that was building a high rise in like a high income, low density area. So nobody wanted a high rise in their backyard, but it was on top of a metro rail station across from University of Miami, which is what's called trans-oriented development. He was incentivizing public transportation by building density into like a public transportation thing. And he was having a hard time getting that built. I reached out to him and I said, hey man, I want to have an event about trans-oriented development because I'm the director of sustainability of this company, and I want to put you on stage with a politician on the board of one of my charities that really cares about public transportation, and I'm going to invite my like young professionals. That person was over the moon that I was having this event, as opposed to calling him as a contractor broski saying, let me give you a price on that project. And he immediately said yes, and a week later we were backdooring a $65 million project that we had no chance at. So at that point I had the formula for like, oh, the stage is the leverage point, right? Like if I can, have enough gumption to like pair people that want to get to know each other on a stage, and I get to like share that stage with them, I now have the entry point of value to get in the door with anybody that I need. And as I was developing that for myself and becoming a business developer inside my company, Gary Vee hit my radar, and I'm like, oh, this dude is doing the same exact thing, but the stage is social media. So that was the aha. The aha was, I can scale this beyond a community that I've grown up in Miami and a geographical area if I'm layering on content creation around these interactions that I then distribute tactically in a way. So that was it. After that, it was just opportunity upon opportunity to prove that actually worked. First one was an e-commerce company. Next one was like a best-selling author, and then it took me to this like JWB deal where I created this like $40 million community in year 1, and the rest is history.
Okay, hold on. If your mindset was shifted, you were inspired to innovate, and you were spurred into action, don't just move on with your day. Focus, my friend, and take a few minutes to visit CEOmischiefmaker.com to learn more about the value that was shared with you today. Please act now and create some CEO mischief of your own.